Is HaShulchan Yoredeh Simon Lamed Vav Sif Pay to Pay Hey. This is Supplemental Day 233 of the HaShulchan Yomi. Pay. We're talking about the needle in the lung. They didn't feel the needle when the lung was intact. Gamlon of course also inflated a cut and they cut the lung, but and to find a needle in one of the pieces. No matter what, whether the needle is thin or thick. Even if one of its sides is one of its ends is one of its heads is thick like the a bit of a date. And the thick side is towards the bronchial tube. And the thin side is towards the cavity of the body. Treifa. I forgot it's treifa. People got the body. The sympone, even though it certainly came through the trachea to the bronchial tube. And pierced with its sharp point. That's a sympone. The tube. And then it went into the smaller tubes. Both then penetrated the flesh. Nevertheless concerned that maybe with its pokey side, it also penetrated the membranes of the lung, then went back in. So it goes down saying that if the thick side is towards the body cavity, and the narrow side is towards the bronchial tube, it's much more likely that the needle was swallowed through the esophagus. From there went to the small intestines, and it pierced and left them, and entered the lung, on kind of a sharp point, and it pierced the membranes. The closed general says, anytime there's a needle, the check is mandatory middle raisa. Once the lung is cut up, I'm going to check it. So it's a doubtful treifa. Like a needle which is found in the body cavity. Certainly, if the needle is found on the lung, the treifa times it's treifa that account. Because the sign of the writes of his man as a we should declare treif any lung in which a needle is found. And we don't test it as an intact lung unless there's a substantial loss. They can check by inflating it. End quote. The Ken Kosu Kamen showing that several wrote this. The Bdika Kashi leave it's very hard to check the entire lung. It made a ruach to see if the wind is not leaving it in some place. But it's a substantial loss. But we have to rely on our check. But it's not if they check it when it's whole, when it's intact. And they found it in a piece of the lung. Even though they checked it previously by blowing it up, and it's smoking a zoom. You know that inflation. I feel bad soon even substantial loss. The came to the do become Shemach B'tochas, and since they didn't know the needle was there previously, we're very much concerned that they were not meticulous in running the check properly. So Mesilah Chadasha and evidently indicated by the Shach as well. Pay base. If you find a crystal of blood on the outside, negative machar opposite the needle, or some machar are very adjacent to the place of the needle. Treifa Medina, treifa according to the strict of law. People but kuach shishlema even was checked when it's intact. Loyatz Arukh and the wind did not go out. Doesn't matter. Koradam, the crystal blood made on nekev indicates that there was a hole. Shomu Chazal, like Chazal say, be'inan acher concerning this another matter. Made shamaka koradaminayin. There's no wound. Why is there crystal blood? Definitely not from Bechor. It's preferable to check that there's no crystal blood opposite the needle. If it's after the fact, and that you didn't see anything at the time, it's not an impediment. For Kosh Kain, certainly im rowing hamachar, if you see the needle to chubra plunged in, if he has the chutz and going towards the outside, she treifa below dam, it's treifdom even there's no crystal of blood. You don't say that after shchita the exit it. It's not like a needle found in the base of which is one of the stomachs. We don't draw comparisons between treifas. No analogies. The shach. What exactly is the shear of a koret, a crystal of blood? We'll have to find out. Pay Gimel. The Nimtza think karet might be related to the word carrot, or the size of weight of gold, but I'm not sure. Pekim Alimta Garan Berea. If you find a pit in the lung, tomorrow like a date pit, Shenu Chaduda, which is not sharp, Pei Mushlema Ben Chaduda, whether it is whole or cut up, it's kosher. I guess whether the lung is whole or cut up, it's kosher. Then there, Garin Gazel and Kov, and such nuts do not penetrate. The valley there must come in through the trachea. I have a Garin Chadud, Garin side, but a sharp pit, like the pit of an olive, yesh lo dimach. It has the status of a needle. It's similar chadash or chen koka. It's anything similar to that. Peital beyash yomok ifnim a lung which is dissolved on the inside. Nitza ba machad. He found in the needle trevel cleaning on straight no matter what. Film says even the needle is found in the flesh of the lung. Shebad nikva echem si punish needles to the basar real. And there definitely must be a puncture in one of the bronchial tubes. Where the needle left the bronchial tube and entered the flesh of the lung. Came chain bubas and made 11 says no meat flesh protecting it. Treifa, it's treich was time to see flam ches. Pei ches, machad pei hey, sorry. Bachad shimsa besim pan godel shebrea. If you find a needle in a large bronchial tube in the lung, bein shlema bein chatucha, where the lung is intact or cut up, bein machad doila. Whether it's a large needle, small needle. Even if its two ends are sharp, the makom mode. This place is very broad. It's very adjacent to the trachea. It must come through the trachea of a law. It didn't do anything. Wrote the shafilu bedika, so the name need bedika. No, finish comments, race on lemon test. Basically, we see later on. The beginning of lemon test. The close EH is a radio success. And then there's even a slight flaw under the noggin in the book. We are accustomed to check it out. Gam can certainly doka rea minficha here to also to check the lung by blowing it up. We also yofa and see very carefully. In militate said ruach meizamok if the wind does not exit in some way. It's a shock. But after the fact, we didn't check it. It's not an impediment. The local areas of troubles, like Evadika, not all flaws are the same that they impede us unless we had a bdika. This is pretty good. For DNA and there's a whole congenital birth defect, I guess, of a hole in the lung, but at the time of its at the time it's birth, he's by the semen nun. But you should know that the check which is measured by his base. It's might to leave the lung for 24 hours in water. Even if the check went well and the animal's kosher, he trefa. Notice the lung is trefa. Because it's in 24 hours in water before malicha. So it's trefa because it's bloody and it's not slaughtered properly. The kavish kavusha was soaked, it's like cooked, and therefore it's usher. Okay, that's it for today.